Hey, Hibbo. Nice to see you.
How's things?
Yeah, good, thanks. Incredible game week one. Best in 9 years. How about you?
It was a good. It was a good start, definitely better than what I expected it to be. So
Nice. Well, just for the guys who've been waiting patiently, sorry for the delay. I know we're running a bit late on the live stream. Welcome to the fourth Net That Whole Compass show of the 21-22 season. We've said before this is now going to be live streamed at a more UK friendly hour, so kind of 9:30, 10 on a Tuesday night. Um, in case you are new to the show, obviously I'm Nima. I write at Fantasy Football Hub, and with me today is my fellow Hub writer Hibbo. So I just wanted to also thank everyone for the recent kind of 1K subs on YouTube. So it was a real moment of celebration for us as a crew. Um, just to get a bit of housekeeping out of the way, when we hit the 1K subs, we did donate the $100 as promised to the heartfund.eu. So that's on the screen for any of the YouTube watchers in case you wanted to also make a donation. I think, as Gabe has said in the past, what we really like about these guys is all of the donation goes towards the operational costs out on the field. So we know that there's going to kind of be bang for our buck. We have also pledged to donate again at 2K subs. So, get us there and we will continue putting our hands in our pockets to help the people of this world. In the meantime, on a more light note, at 1,500 subs, I have promised to come and dress as Ali G on the show. So, booyah kasha. Uh, but yeah, please, if you're new viewers, hit that like button, hit subscribe, as you know. I won't start threatening yet. I'm still nice Nima for now.
yeah, so this is obviously the money league. So for the podcast listeners, the money league code is FG1XNB, and we have finalised our prizes. So the first prize is a mystery box from Shirt Look Box, and they're on Twitter. Second prize is a copy of FPL Obsessed by Matt Whelan. So you can have that either in hard copy or you can have it in the Kindle version. And third prize is premium membership, the fantasy football fix for the third place in the league. Loads of people on there. I think we've got Bakar still on there, Matthews, FPL Matthews on there, Tom Stevenson's on there, and of course, well, we've got the net that whole boys, and we've all started well ourselves. So
Yeah, come and compete with us. And if you think you can beat us, then at least try to beat some of the best in the business in Bakar and Matthews, you say. So I think Tom Stevenson as well. Like, if you can beat him, I'll personally post you a prize.
yeah, I think top score this week was, I think it was maybe 124, 125 points.
Yeah, I know
Or
some people messaged me after. They were like, "Hey, I joined your YouTube league, and I got over 100 points, but I'm not even in the top half of the table." They were like,
yeah,
"This is a
well,
competitive league."
first place at the minute is a fella called Martin Piley. He's on 124 points. And from memory, he used his bench boost in game week one. He's on 124 points. And then there's another guy, No Bueno, Adrian B, and he's on 122 points. He played his triple captain. So boys are using the chips early doors.
Fair enough. I don't think I'll be using any chips, and unusually, unlike most seasons, I'm probably going to be banking going into next year. So, I guess now that the housekeeping's out of the way, obviously we talked about the mini league. So, just again, the code is FG1XMB. We will probably close entries after the first international break, I think. So, do kind of go to the Net That Whole Twitter account, find the pinned tweet, and look at the rules for entering. But please do come and compete with us. On the other side of things, I guess it's time to review our game week, right? We've talked a little bit about our incredible scores, but seeing as I kind of had the higher score of the two of us, I thought I'd take it upon myself to go first. And then we could look at your team next, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, work away.
So sorry, I feel like I always put myself first in these situations. I need to work on that. Next time we'll put your team first. So diving into my team for any of the podcast listeners. So I have Sanchez in goal. I have Shaw, Trent, and Simicas in my backline. I have Salah, captain, Fernandez, Greenwood, and Ben Rama, who, if you go back a couple episodes, I'll make a clip of it. But I was talking about Ben Rama and I said he's on fire, and I'm going to find a clip to show that it's not just hindsight. I've got Antonio Ings Antony. So I was 111 points all out, 42k OR, and actually in the top 100 in the Iranian league. So I'm competing in the Iran National League this year, and it's pretty stiff competition. But let's see how that goes. My bench, for anyone who is kind of watching, I know it's not in the screenshot. I had Foster in goal. I also had Ben White, A-Link, who scored the goal, and Brownhill, who kind of subbed on for 1 point. But it's been a great week for me. I'm really happy with it. I was sweating it when Saar got 9 points, Hibbo, because I actually switched him to Ben Rama close to deadline. So I was a little bit worried there. Obviously, Ings was also a bit worrying till that last minute penalty with El Ghazi off the pitch, fortunately. There was a few scary moments, but all in all, only Tony, Shaw, and Sanchez blanked. So couldn't really ask for a better start.
Definitely not. I like your team name, Gangsters Allardyce.
Yeah, so this has been my team name for a few years now. It took me a while to find one that felt at home, but this is definitely me, and I think it represents my brand well.
Definitely.
um,
Definitely.
I guess let's we can talk about kind of transfers as well a bit before we go to your team. I guess what I will say is I'm just going to literally play the same 11. I'm banking my transfer. What was very interesting on Fantasy Football Fix was they actually wanted to optimize on my squad using their AI, and they were actually suggesting I benched Ben Rama for Ayling this week, who's at home to Everton. So that was for one more predicted point. I'm happy to let Ayling score another goal. I don't care if he gets a double digit on my bench. I'm not benching Ben Rama in his current form. And that's where I think maybe algorithms, as great and helpful as the tools they are, they should just be one tool in how we make our choices.
Tend to agree. I think your team looks well set. They roll, to be completely honest.
Nice one. So let's look at yours. So your team name. I was going to try and pronounce it, but I don't want to embarrass myself. I'm the guy who's pronounced Eze wrong, and it's a three-letter word.
This is Blom. I call my team Blomfontein Celtic. So there's a team in South Africa called Blomfontein Celtic. So I've always had a team name with a variation. I think a few years ago I had Stalybred Celtic was my name, but no, I scored 101 points in game week 1. Starting from kind of back to front, I had Sanchez in goal, Samaka, Shaw, Trent Arnold, which was fairly template. Midfield, Greenwood, Buendia, Fernandez, and Salah. So Buendia blanked for me. Sanchez and Shaw blanked for me as well. And then up front, I had Ivan Toney, Danny Ings, and Antonio. So, look, all in all, I was happy with it. If I was unhappy with one thing, it was that I didn't go for Ben Rama. Like, Ben Rama was my main regret. Now, I'm looking at kind of going towards game week 2, and the way I'm sitting at the minute, I think I'm just going to save the transfer as well. Buendia's got a nice fixture against Newcastle. Ben Rama done very good against Newcastle, so I'm kind of thinking, roll the dice, see how they go in game week 2, and have a couple of transfers for game week 3 and kind of take it forward from there, really. My benches, I've got Ben Foster in goal, Veltman, who didn't play. I think he had COVID, or he was a close contact of somebody maybe. Brownhill, who didn't start, which was surprising. And then I had Ayling was my third sub. So I've
Parked
no
right
faith.
on the end of the bench.
Well, I have no faith in Ayling. I wasn't really going to play him against Man United. Like with the squad that I had at the minute, I thought it was the best. Now, similar to yourself, like optimizations suggesting certain moves, but I'm going to roll the same team out again, I think, for game week 2. I think I'm going to keep Salah as my captain as well. I know Fernandez is a good fixture, but I think this starting team you see is going to be my starting team in game week 2 as well.
I like that. I think on that note, then, I guess something that is very close to me is that I feel like game week 2 is not really a climbing opportunity for rank. Like, you could climb rank, you could drop rank, right? But we don't know enough yet. And I think we spent a lot of time deliberating and picking these game week 1 teams. And just because some of that planning may have been thrown out the window, it doesn't mean that what we saw in 1 week is a pattern or a trend. It could just be a one-off. So, like Arsenal are crap, Brentford were great. But will they both be as bad or as good in future games? I don't know. Like that, we might look back at that and, that might be one of Brentford's best games of the season for them. So on that note, I thought I'd fess up early to that incredible loss 2-0 to my boys. But yeah, just before we then go into kind of, I guess, the game week review, I know we've got some matches that we want to look at the stats. Before that, I thought we'd just give a little shout out to everyone who's here today. We always like to do this. So I just wanted to say, thank you to Donny. He's here. He had to let the lads finish watching Love Island before they let him have the TV. So appreciate you kind of wrestling with them for that. Nehal as well. Thank you for coming back. We've got Flapjack, who is a king and a gent. He's clicked like, he's subscribed, he's smashed the bell, he's done it all. Special kind of reward coming from me your way. FPL Arrows, I think that's Fraser online. Nice to see you. Gabriel Lenz couldn't resist. He did say he wasn't going to come, but I have a feeling Dar has sent him to watch us in case we do anything too naughty. Who else do we have? We have A. Bastios. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Anthony Chung's on there.
Nice. We have Ramanathan back again. I feel like good hauler right there. Always here at the shows live. We have Gary Swan here as well. So FPL Chess. nice to see you. I know he's a bit disappointed that there isn't a philosophy segment today from Gabe. So maybe by the end of tonight's show, we'll come out with some kind of philosophical, enlightening comment. But I can't promise anything yet. We've got BB UK 1999. Nice to see you. We have Akshay here as well. Thanks for tuning in. Lots of live viewers. Incredible to see you all. We've got Sean Burke. He's telling us to save our transfer. Oh no, he's saying we'll save your transfer. Yeah, I think it's a comment. It might be a question, but yep, we're both saving. We've got Akshat Dioli. Nice to see you, mate. We've got Jaskaran Singh. Nice to see you. We've got JMC. He's actually from Belfast, so I'll let you say hi to JMC70 in a bit. And we've got Barry Shuttleworth, who says hi, chap. So lovely to see you. Gabe, just as a final thought before we move into the review, has said 50 likes and he'll throw in a bonus philosophy quote. So that's a task, guys. Go to that @NetThatHaul tweet. Try to get the kind of link of the live show out there and help us get to 50 likes for a real enlightening philosophical moment from Gabriel, the resident in-house philosopher. So without further ado, let's review the game week. We're just going to do kind of a rapid fire Q&A afterwards as well. So we've got lots of you sent in questions before the show. So we're going to make the Compass show going forwards very interactive. We kind of looked at our teams. I know it's been about 11 minutes now. We intend to kind of spend most of the show talking about questions we get in advance and also live from whoever's there on the night. So I'd say the shows will probably be 75 to 90 minutes. So they won't be those kind of marathon 2 hour 15 sessions you've seen in the preseason. I know it's hard to find enough time for content. So they're going to be much shorter and they're going to be far more interactive. I think that's the kind of the top line. And anything you want to add, Hibbo, and then otherwise we'll go to your lovely graphics.
Yeah, I think we just we just dive straight on.
Let's go. I'll let you take over, my boy KT.
Yeah, so well, I want to kind of talk kind of organically first, I think, about Brentford and Arsenal. So it was the first match of the weekend, 2-0 to Brentford, goals from Canos and Norgard. And the first bit of controversy, I think, in terms of AFPL for the season was the fact that people were questioning whether Tony got the touch for the assist for the second goal, which was the long throw one. It obviously wasn't given, and I think that was very much AFPL was back for the season once there was a bit of controversy. But no, when we look at Tierney's stats, like Tierney's stats in that game, he had like 5 accurate crosses, he had 6 key passes. On the night he had 1 point. I know a lot of people were talking about Tierney and they were saying, oh, he played so well. I don't really know how much I think that's true because at the same time, Arsenal conceded 2 goals. They looked a bit shaky defensively. He showed a bit of production down the left-hand side, obviously, with the crosses and the key passes. It didn't translate in terms of actual returns. But what I thought was interesting from an Arsenal point of view, and you can maybe jump on at some point, looking at the system, it looked to me as if Chambers was sitting, it looked as if he were playing a back four, but that was Chambers was sitting more on the right-hand side, which was giving Tierney a bit more license to go forward on the left-hand side. My kind of question to you would be, because we're looking at, say, the fixtures from like game week 4, they've got like Norwich at home, Burnley away, Spurs at home, and Brighton away. Do you see Chambers continuing on the right back slot? They give Tierney this kind of license to go forward? Because I'm interested to know your point of view, I think, as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, so what I will say is it's actually very common, whoever plays right back for us, for Kieran Tierney to kind of almost become like the fifth attacker in the kind of attack. And I'd say that normally, whether it's someone like Xhaka dropping in from left centre back to become a left back cover for him when he goes forward, or whether it's someone like, say, Callum Chambers becoming a third centre back in the attack, I think whoever plays that right back role, and now that Xhaka's staying, they're kind of both very much going to be giving Tierney that option to be the fifth attacker. So I don't think it's like a one-off. I don't think it's dependent on Chambers. What I found really interesting, actually, is I saw a really great piece on theanalyst.com, and in there they showed that actually Tierney, he was more advanced in the first kind of 0 to 59 minutes than even Pepe and Smith Rowe and Martinelli. So when you look at it, there was kind of Balogun right at the top spearheading the attack, but Tierney was pretty much like he was playing winger. I'm just going to maybe try and put it on the screen very briefly just to show, but like, let me try and zoom in. I don't know if you can see this. Like, he is basically like as high up the pitch as possible. So I think that's going to be the norm with him. And if anything, I'd say that last season we was too reliant on him. And when he was out injured, our chance creation dried up. So I don't think it's like a new thing. And I think it will continue. he kind of showed what a fit Tierney can do. I'd say game week 4, he looks very appealing.
He does look appealing, but like I'm going to kind of provide a counter argument to this as well, and the fact that Christoph Ayer made his competitive debut for Brentford, and he was playing that role in the right centre back. Now, that was the side that Tierney was obviously having so much joy. And like I had a look at kind of Ayer's stats. I think in the match he made 1 tackle. His pass completion, and now he was signed by Brentford when he played for Celtic. He was very good at kind of progressing the ball out. He had a pass completion rate of like 61%. So I kind of think, I know Gabriel's very big in his matchups, and I think that this is going to be an avenue possibly where people are going to get at Brentford is down the left-hand side, especially while Ayer's kind of bedding in at the minute. And I think people are looking at Tierney's stats and going, wow, it's so impressive. I kind of think a lot of what Tierney did was to do with the weakness that Brentford had down that side as well. Now, I'm just going to touch on Mbeumo because he was like what people call ex-lively. He was playing out of position in a 3-5-2. At 5.5, he kind of seems attractive, but I kind of thought he was, I don't know about you, I thought he was kind of wistful on the night because he had a great chance where at the edge of the box he beat Pablo Mari and he beat Tierney and he went one-on-one with the keeper and he screwed his shot wide. And I think a lot of people are maybe seeing his kind of lively performance and his price tag, but I kind of think there's a bit of value in the game around 6 million. I think Benrahma's obviously attractive. I think Sarr's obviously attractive. And I don't know if I'm completely sold on Mbeumo as an option, but they do have decent enough fixtures, in fairness. Like,
yeah, he's good. He's good enough, I think, as an option, but he doesn't kind of excite me. I'm someone who's going to hold on to Tony. Obviously, I know I've seen some people when we come to transfer trends shortly, like they've been selling Tony already ahead of a Crystal Palace game, which is obscene. But that aside, and the knee jerks that we're seeing all over the community, it feels to me like I'm not going to ever double up on the Brentford attack, and I want Tony. He's the talisman. You know, he's got penalties. I know Mbeumo's kind of out of position, and that's like this holy grail of FPL, right? But that's not enough for me. I think there's great midfield options, and I've not seen enough to go for him. Also, I feel like kind of those fixtures are good now. So unless you're buying him now or you started with him, you'll be bringing in a player who you may be looking to sell within a few weeks, personally speaking. And I don't really want to be playing with that. I'd rather be targeting like a Sar, who you may want to keep for like, say, 10 game weeks where they do have okay fixtures. And I think that's my preference. Like I'd rather go for someone like that. But yeah, I do like Brentford. What I will say is like they played great attacking football. I think their manager is a great guy. You know, Arsenal humiliate themselves, but I think what people are kind of forgetting very easily is that obviously they were missing Gabriel, they were missing Partey, they were missing Auburn. Like that's 4 of the first team gone. You got Gabriel Martinelli starting on left wing instead of at striker because Saka was not fit enough to start. I think what we would have hoped to see is Martinelli playing a centre forward. So what I will say is, let's watch the Oberlacher situation. It's a bit odd. Apparently, they had an illness. The rumors say that they were dropped for disciplinary reasons. I don't know what illness keeps you out from Friday the 13th till Sunday the 22nd. Sounds a bit odd to me. Some people said it's COVID, and they said it's been hidden by the Premier League because they didn't want the news on the opening weekend to be COVID. So I don't know what to believe at this stage. But Martinelli could spearhead that attack when Saka is fit enough to start, is my thinking. And he's, I think, a 5 million mid or something. So I'd be maybe keeping an eye on that.
Sorry, I think it's a good point. Like pro Tierney, actually, like where you're saying that obviously they were missing these players. Like they're I suppose they're kind of marquee attacking players. We were talking about your Lacazette and your Aubameyang, and like having watched the game myself, Tierney was putting on a lot of crosses under the box where like if they would have been kind of meat and drink for those kind of strikers. So like maybe when you get those guys back coming into game week 4, I think it could be an option. But we'll move on to
let's go to the next team. Yeah.
We'll move on to United. So obviously, United, they won 5-1 against Leeds. So Bruno scored the hat-trick. Fred got one. Greenwood got a goal. Pogba with 4 assists. And Ayling finally delivered on all the kind of expected data that we were talking about last season, which is kind of funny because a lot of us had him on our team, but we were never in a million years going to play him.
His EO, by the way, at my rank was 0.0% on live FPL of how many people started Ayling.
Rightly so. You're talking about Fernandes. He got the hat-trick, but he converted his 3 shots. We had 3 shots on target, and he scored a hat-trick. Pogba got 4 assists from his 4 key passes. So it was one of those days, I think, where everything went right for United. But the people that went under the game, I think, were the Bruno theory. They didn't have the greatest of starts, but I think some of the alternatives that you could have possibly had. Like I know people that went without Bruno maybe went for Son and they maybe went for Greenwood. They caught up eventually. What I will say is I thought Bruno was fairly advanced. The fixtures are great up to game week 7. They tighten after that. And for me, I think the approach with United is I want a double attack, and Bruno's a complete lock. I'd like to have a wee bit of conversation around Pogba because he's been a bit of a bandwagon this week already. I know he's rose in price. He was playing the left side in attack on 3. Do you think that'll continue?
I did see that, and there was some talk that even when all the United attackers are fit, that the best front four would be kind of Pogba left wing, Cavani striker, Bruno Cam with Sancho right wing, and I guess the likes of kind of Martial and Greenwood, they'd be super subs, and Rashford's well out for a while. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it in November. So there is talks about that, but I don't quite see that. I think he's actually going to, in the next game, drop back into the midfield, and one of Fred or McTominay will be dropped and Pogba will play deeper, I think, personally. But I can see why people like him playing at left wing. Someone actually pulled my attention to a really great game he had against Liverpool a few years ago where he also played left wing there. So it's not unusual. And I think Pogba, he's a better attacking player and he's never kind of had that centre mid partner, right? Like United have historically been mocked for like constantly trying to buy Pogba's partner in the midfield so he can go and attack. And they never seem to find that partner for him. So I don't know. I think he's going to play at midfield personally long term. But you believe this left wing hype?
No, I don't believe the left wing hype. And what I actually think from watching the game and looking at a bit of analysis since is that I think Pogba was kind of beneficiary from Greenwood playing striker because I think Greenwood's kind of got that pace and he's got that mobility where he can drag out the left hand side and kind of create space like a lane through the middle for a player to come through. And I think in the game itself we saw like Pogba taking up that space nearly like a secondary striker coming on off a left flank. And I don't really know if I see that happening if, say, Cavani plays a more traditional striker role. Now, I know there's been a bit of debate saying FPL Twitter this week or today, really, where people are talking about Greenwood and they're saying, "Oh, is Greenwood nailed?" And I think Handy Monkey said last week about somebody being as nailed as Driftwood. Now, I would never call Greenwood Driftwood, but what I'm going to say is
that was Pepe.
No, I know it was Pepe, but like I know there's this discussion at the minute about whether Greenwood's nailed, but I think you started with Greenwood, I started with Greenwood. Now, the reason I started with Greenwood was I knew Rashford was out. I knew Sancho would be starting late, and I knew Cavani was out. And when I looked at that block of like fixtures for United from game week 1 to 6, I kind of thought to myself, I'm taking a chance on that because he could start well, and if he starts well, I'll leave him in until he becomes an issue. And like we were looking at Greenwood, and if you're looking at the stats on the screen, he had 2 shots on target. He created 1 big chance. He had 8 points on the day. He had an expected goal involvement of 0.8 and an expected points of 5.8. So just to give a shout out to Fantasy Football Hub, this is their data, obviously, that we're going to use. So we're going to reference him. He was playing as a striker with Cavani out. Now, I do think it's going to be a case that sooner or later his minutes are going to be impacted. But he's a definite hold for me until he becomes an issue.
Yeah, I think I agree. So, like, from my perspective, there was a friendly yesterday behind closed doors with Burnley for United, and that kind of gave me enough knowledge to feel that Green was definitely going to start and might still be striker in the second game as well against Southampton. So I'm kind of playing it week by week, and there's people in the chat saying they were considering selling Greenwood for Mahrez.
No way.
I would just hold, to be honest. I wouldn't even consider that. That's my thinking on that. I guess what I will say is there's been some really great questions in here that I know that when we get to the live Q&A, they will disappear. So I want to answer one of them because it's about my beloved Arsenal. They said, why was Smith Rowe given the number 10 shirt if they're going to bring in Odegaard or maybe a Maddison? So I guess the reality is, like, he is a kid. He started like maybe 15 to 20 Premier League games in his career. Anyone who was telling you guys pre-season that he was going to be nailed and play this whole season is delusional. I promise you. Like, there is no kid who's going to play number 1 cam every fucking week for a whole goddamn season with no break. Like, he played 6 months of last season from January. Obviously, Arsenal played much better once they had a creative player. But even towards the end of that spell, he was mediocre a bit. So I love the kid. He's awesome. But he is a kid. Like, he needs someone to learn from. He needs to be an understudy. And he's going to share minutes. But him and Odegaard did spend time together on the pitch in many lineups. So just because Odegaard comes does not mean that one of them is benched. Both of them are fully capable of playing on the wing and at cam and interchanging positions mid-game. So this is why I stayed away from Smith Rowe, because I felt like I would want him for game week 1 against Brentford, which clearly that didn't work. And then I would have benched him. And by game week 4, I thought he's not going to be nailed. So I'd be looking at Saka at 6.5. I'd spend the extra million if I'm honest. He was our player of the season, 19 years old, 5 goals, 5 assists, and he learned a lot from that Euros exit, I think. So I would cough up the extra million if you were looking for an Arsenal midfielder. It would not be Smith Rowe for me. And I don't think he's going to pull out trees with his numbers. He makes us tick. He's a great player. He's not great for FPL, in my opinion, humbly. Any issues to what I've said, Hibbo? I know we always disagree with each other, so
No, I completely agree with where you're standing on Smith Rowe. Like I do think he's going to get minutes, but I don't really like the midfielders around 5.5. And like I've said, they start really like I do think there's a certain pocket of players around about 6 million in value that I do like at the minute, and they do represent. I think they could represent great value. And I think once you kind of come down to get stuck at 5.5 and you maybe spend the extra money elsewhere, I think even if somebody pops off at 6, like, you know, you might struggle to get to them as easily as you can. Now,
you'd have
just
to
to
take
answer,
a hit, yeah.
just to answer Grady's question in the chat, so he's asking, did Hibbo already say if he's holding Buendia? This week, I'm definitely holding Buendia at home to Newcastle. I can't pass it up. I like the fixture in game week 3 as well, so I've kind of made my bed with Buendia and Ings, follow double up, and I'm just going to go with it and see what happens. I want to save the transfer going into game week 3. Son's appealing, but I suppose it depends if I'm going to captain Son, whether I'm going to bring him in, I suppose. But
I think just to add to Shams's comment as well. So, like, he says Saka is younger than ESR, and yeah, that is true. But Saka went to the final of the Euros and was willing to step up and take the last penalty. Saka played more minutes than anyone at Arsenal last year, apart from Leno and Xhaka. Saka was starting for Emery 3 years ago. Saka's been doing it since 17 years old. As I said, Smith Rowe has 20 Premier League games under his belt. It's not just about age, it's about experience. And Saka is our best player. Like, our team is trash, and he is our best player.
He's a better player, no doubt. I completely agree.
I think he will one day, he will be world class. Like, record this, laugh at me in a few years. That's what football Twitter is about, right?
Yeah.
Finding stuff out of context 4 years later and mocking people.
So I'll just dive
Everton.
into these stats kind of for Everton here. So like we were looking at Everton, they had a 3-1 over Southampton. So just to kind of start the game, there was a defensive lapse by Michael Keane, and he let Southampton in. And Adam Armstrong, I think his finish was unbelievable. He put it right on the top corner, and I think Adam Armstrong's one to watch at 6 million because I know people are on the Tony train at the minute. I think there's a potential he's going to be in penalties because when he was in Blackburn, he took some penalties. The only maybe challenge that I think's Ward-Prowse. Definitely one to watch. Now, I thought Everton were first of all in the second half, which didn't really bode well for Southampton. There was a half-clear corner. It went to Richarlison and they scored. Now, I think Richarlison's maybe interesting because I think he's the assumed penalty taker at the moment with the way the side lines up. I want to give a special shout-out to Decore. He was tipped in our pre-season article, or not our article, our pre-season show, Moving Goalposts episode, where we got some views from Everton fans in the community. So Tornado basically topped up the Curry. He played like a man possessed. His goal was absolutely unbelievable, right in the top bin.
I think FPL Prem Tipster as well. Like the both of them sent us such great content, right?
They really did. They really did. But like what my main takeaway from Everton at the weekend was they were just set up to cross the ball. And I have never seen, like, see Richarlison. Normally Richarlison gets the ball out wide left or wide right, and he tries to beat his man maybe 5 times. Every time Richarlison crossed the ball on the box, they've got Andros Townsend who wants to get the ball onto the box. And my main takeaway is they're going to cross it high, they're going to cross it low, but DCL is going to get a lot of opportunity. Now, DCL got the third goal, and I think it could be tremendous value. And when you're looking at the next fixtures in the next 4, they've got Leeds away, Brighton away, Burnley at home, Aston Villa away. The only thing I would temper that with is 3 of those next 4 are away games. But also what I'll say is Southampton were poor. And a lot of people are maybe looking at, say, the XG for Everton on the day and saying, oh, wow, Everton were really good. I think it bodes well for your United assets going into game week 2. If you've got the double up on United, I think you're well set. But no, looking at DCL, just I'll pull you in now for a wee comment, but looking at DCL, he had 5 shots. He had an XG of 0.71. He scored 7 points in game week 1. Expected goal involvement of 0.9 and expected points of 6.4. So definitely an option. What do you think about DCL?
So I had DCL on my team the whole preseason. He did not move till I panicked when he missed that last friendly the weekend before the Prem started, and that's when I also sold Watkins because of that same injury at halfway through that preseason game. So I kind of moved Watkins to Tony. I then moved DCL to Ings. I'd say that for me, DCL, he looks very exciting. Seeing kind of the tactics we spoke about in the preseason and Benitez's plan to kind of have the fullbacks crossing in, and from what you've just explained as well, I would be going for him at the extra zero point 0.4 million now that Richarlison is 7.6 million. We'll look at transfer trends shortly, but I found it quite surprising actually that Richarlison kind of is more transferred in. I think double the transfers in for him at current time compared to Calvert-Lewin. I find that a bit weird. He's great. I like Richarlison, but for me, Calvert-Lewin and the style of play they're going to have, he's going to be there ready to tap them in, like few headers coming his way, I'm sure.
Completely agree. It just looks to me as if the whole attack's just set up, they revolve around getting the ball on the DCL. So it's maybe hard to ignore. And I know a lot of people are on maybe like they've got like Ings, Antonio, and the price points are nice if you ever want to kind of jump to DCL if some of these guys start to kind of underperform for you.
Yeah, I think that's what we called preseason, right? Like, I don't think either of us went for a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2 because in the end we kind of wanted those free strikers because we saw the value was in that kind of 7.5 to 8 million striker range. There's so many of them, we don't know who's going to pop off, and we wanted to be able to easily jump in and out of all of them as fixtures swing and as we see which ones let us down, essentially, right?
100%. We'll just up on the just Liverpool maybe next if you want to just hit the next slide for me.
Yeah.
So obviously Liverpool, they won 3-0 away to Norwich. Now just to start the game, Pookie had a great chance where he went kind of one-on-one with Alisson. He had it straight at him. I thought Salah looked as if he was provider. So like he laid on for both Jota and Firmino, and then he scored a goal himself. He arrowed on the third. So like we saw Tsimikas, he crossed the ball. He crossed the ball in from the corner, and it was half cleared. And Salah obviously scored. But look, Jota produced great numbers on the day. He was withdrawn on the 60th minute, I think. So we have to bear that in mind with his numbers. But he had 2 shots on target. He was in the receiving end of 2 big chances. He had 8 points. He had an expected goal involvement of exactly 1. And his expected points were 7.5, which is really huge when you consider that he only played like 2/3 of a game. He looked highly frustrated when he came off. But I think the frustration with Jota owners is, in terms of FPL, is as expected minutes are always going to be kind of questionable because they have such strength in that attacking front three. Firmino, I think, was tough at the start to be kind of laid back, but he's at a more advanced stage. Although there seems to be a bit of chat that if Firmino goes away to international duty with Brazil, he might have to isolate. Did you see that today?
Yeah, so there's been a big list of kind of players, I guess, that could be affected, and Salah's one of them as well, even where they might not be back for game week 4 because of the 10-day quarantine. I know previously FIFA had kind of let clubs reject international teams calling up players, and I think those protocols are now redundant, so they can't block it. So my view is none of these players are going to go away, and they're all going to have a phantom injury one day before the international break. Like that's just my honest opinion. And we always see phantom injuries, right? Like how many years has Sterling missed international break for England because suddenly he's got a niggle in his back, something that no scan can ever prove. So I don't think none of these guys are going away, but let's see. I think their club managers would be kind of crazy to let them go at this time and potentially kind of catch COVID while traveling the world and then miss even more time.
100%, I agree with you, and I think like we don't really know how kind of protocol rules are going to change, and if these players have been double vaxxed, is there a chance that they could say that they're fine? I don't really I can't really see them turning around saying this guy has to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks. I just don't buy it if I'm being totally honest. Even if they were to go, I don't know how much truth there is on it yet. So look, take away.
I think they'll get away with it, yeah. And you know the rules are fluid and they'll change. I'm sure they'll have some elite sportsman bubble thing come out again, and they'll be able to get out of isolating or anything like that. What I will say is, for me, I had Jota in my team to start with, and it was only when Robertson got injured that I moved to Simicast, and then I made Jota into Greenwood. I think seeing him sub at the 60th minute, it reassures me that perhaps like he's not as nailed, and actually Greenwood is a bit more nailed, at least for the foreseeable future. So I'm kind of happy with that choice. We've seen obviously Robertson's back on the grass, training, running. A lot of people got scared, but the reality is, like, I doubt he plays this weekend against Burnley. And by the time he's back, like, it's Chelsea away, right? I was going to bench Simicast anyway for Ailing. So I'm okay with that. And I'm okay having Simicast. I think I made the right choice here. Maybe later in the season, Jota becomes interesting again, but I kind of want players who I can hold and who I know are going to play regularly and play like 90 minutes where possible. And I don't feel I get that with him. And people say he's going to replace Firmino this year, and Firmino is like Klopp's favorite. Like he's Klopp's favorite. I think that's just FPL fans like getting a bit excited and carried away.
I totally agree. And like, I think the argument with Simicast is like, people were saying, how do you jump off Simicast? And like, my point of view in this is, do you need to jump off Simicast? Because if he's going to play game week 1 and game week 2 for me, I wasn't going to play him against Chelsea. I probably wasn't going to play him away to Leeds. He's a 4 million. There was a chance that I maybe would have picked a 4 million non-playing defender to bury fifth on, to bury as my third sub. So the fact that he was playing for me was a kind of bonus. I'm happy enough. If I get 2 games and some points out of him, I'm happy to kind of let him rot away until maybe such times as I play a wild card. So I don't necessarily know. I know people are saying, when do we jump off Simicast? I don't think we do need to jump off Simicast. I think we can.
RIP to the hundreds of thousands of people who transferred him in for that 4.1 price rise. Keep it going, chaps. If you're watching, we're halfway to profit. Keep fucking buying him. Ignore the Robbo news and get me my 0.1 profit. But we'll come to transfer trends later.
But just my last point.
Yeah, I was going to say, finish up
no, but you can come back. But my last point in Norwich was 2 of their chances that they conceded goals from came from their left back side. So I know Gabe's big on these matchups and these big on the kind of zonal matchups, and I think that's maybe something they look to, because I know Norwich were in the market for left backs and they were linked with, say, Brandon Williams and stuff like that. That could be a sign of weakness that you could be looking at a team that are strong on the right hand side to target kind of going forward.
I'm back, I think. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I unplugged the headphone and the mic all in one. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no. So all I was going to say is like, yeah, if you've kind of finished off on Jota, well, I guess we'll move to West Ham Newcastle, because that was a pretty exciting game, and I know you had some stuff there about our boy Benny.
Yeah, so obviously Newcastle, West Ham, they played on Sunday. It was West Ham won 4-2. Now, early in the match, Souček had a great header cleared off the line by Almiron at 0-0. There are reports that Declan Rice is still tied in knots from St. Maximum, turned him inside out before he assisted Wilson. He chopped him one way, chopped him another way, and put it in the box, and Wilson scored. We saw Cresswell and Murphy get a couple of goals. What I will say is, West Ham conceded both their goals. They conceded from headers. So they're maybe susceptible in the air to kind of the ball, a cross ball under the box. In terms of Ben Rama, he fizzed a great shot past the left-hand post whenever I watched the game. He didn't have the target with. It wasn't a mile off. Antonio set Ben Rama up for a header, which is probably a fairly low kind of, well, it was close to goal, but it's normally a fairly low XG chance. And I don't think we're normally going to see Ben Rama in a spot where he's going to be scoring headers. So it could be a bit of an anomaly there. Antonio must have, I want to kind of touch on this. So Antonio must have pen, and Souček followed up. This pen was for Antonio to break the record. Is that correct?
No, so it was to equal it, because then when he then scored the next goal, it was continuing from last season where he did the interview and he made fun of Rice, I think, for missing a penalty, and was like, I'm on penalties now. And I remember I was saying, yeah, he wants to get the top scorer record. He's now done an interview since saying, oh yeah, so you remember I made fun of Rice? I think he's going to be on the next one now because he's making fun of me. And I was like, oh, you fucking moron. He said that, yeah. And I'm like, you moron, you lost the penalties. Why? Like, why would you do this to us?
See, that's what I was going to say, because like West Ham's penalty record hasn't been great. And then there's kind of a bit of chatter at the minute in the community that Ben Rama, I know he went 4 for 4 in terms of penalties taken and scored for Brentford the season before he signed for West Ham. But just to touch on his stats, so he had one shot in the box, he created one big chance. He had 12 points in the day. He had an XGA, expected goal involvement, of 1.1, and his expected points were 7.2, which is 7.2 is fairly high in terms of expected points. So Ben Rama for me was very much the one that got away, and like I'm a bit jealous looking at your team, seeing Ben Rama in there, if I'm honest.
I really like him. I've seen some more funny videos of him since, which I'll try and upload into StreamYard for the next show. But like genuinely, I think when I saw him obviously, like he's Algerian. I thought this is my new Algerian prince, and maybe he can do what Mahrez did for me when he was at Leicester all those years ago. So if they don't sign Lingard and he keeps that kind of cam position, I'm very excited. But I said earlier in the show, I did find it odd that the fixed algorithm was suggesting I bench him this week for Ailing, which I can kind of see their logic, but sometimes this is why you need to make sure your eyes are also working and not just computers. No slight to our father Mariner.
The same, like I've signed up the FPL review. I don't know if you use that, and that's kind of suggesting transfers to me that I wouldn't be really interested in either. Like, you know, so
I got a lot of goalkeeper suggestions, like sell Foster and buy this other crap keeper. Like, and I'm like, I already have a playing keeper, like, and he's playing Watford. Like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, no. I think what I will say is West Ham. Like, I think you were very spot on. Like, I don't think they will keep many clean sheets. So I know Cresswell scored his goal, and obviously he rewarded his owners. I had told someone I feel sorry for him in a league I'm competing with him on to like go for Kufal and save the money. Obviously, that didn't work out. It looks like I betrayed him. But I know you did similar, didn't you, to someone? What did you tell
yes.
them?
Somebody asked me for advice on Richarlison, and I says, "Look, don't buy Richarlison because he's just coming back from the Olympics." So, and what turned out is I played this guy in a head-to-head, and I'm not allowed to say him in a money league, but in a head-to-head match, and he was my first fixture in a head-to-head match. So if he had Richarlison, he would have beat me. So I'm going to keep giving him crap advice all season. So no, I'm just going to put Fraser's comment up on the screen here. So Fraser's saying during a recent pre-season there was a pen. Ben Rama and Antonio discussed who would take it. And he thinks Ben Rama could be in line to take the next pen. So I do think pens are a bit up in the air. I know they've went Rice, I know they've went Antonio, I know they went Lingard, and they've all kind of must one
I guess
recently.
Noble if he's around at some point, but when do we
He's the
see
most
him, right?
reliable. He's the most reliable, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think West Ham, they proved what we thought, right? Like they were kind of suspect defensively. Like it probably wasn't worth getting on their defensive assets, and I'm sure we'll continue seeing this trend. But attacking wise, one of the things that I saw, which was really fascinating in that same interview, I think it was with Antonio, he kind of said, "Look, like we've learned from Moyes that like we can always come back. Like we never give up. No matter how many times we go behind in a game, we know we can score." So that's their mentality. They're not looking to beat teams by keeping them out. Like they just have utter confidence in the fact that they will score and score and score again. So I don't think that, this is a one-off, like seeing them score 4 goals. Like I think they can easily score 2 to 4 goals most games. So I'm actually really excited to see how that Leicester game goes. I don't think you can call it either way. It's going to be tough. It's at home for West Ham, but some people say that, actually playing at home for West Ham is worse. Like they do better away because their fans, like they really get on their backs in the home stadium. Sorry if there's any West Ham fans here, but it's true. You guys know it. You're toxic. Anyway.
So we're going to touch on another game here. So it was Watford against Villa. Watford won 3-2. So Emmanuel Dennis, he's 5 million in FPL. He opened the scoring. Sarr was actually, Ismaila Sarr was unlucky not to get the assist because he played the ball on. But Emmanuel Dennis needed 2 bites at the cherry to score. So, on another day, maybe Sarr also gets the assist. Matt Target had to be taken off because he just basically couldn't deal with Sarr's pace or Sarr's dribbling. Sarr eventually did get the goal through a bit of a fortunate deflection off Mings. So if I just look at his stats on the day, he had 2 shots on target. He completed 4 key passes. He had 9 points in FPL with an expected goal involvement of 0.6, and his expected points were 5.2. So I think what we've seen with Watford is that Sarr's potentially on pens. He took some last season. He took one also in pre-season. Deeney was always a big favourite in terms of penalty taking, and Deeney doesn't seem to be in the picture because they started with Emmanuel Dennis, and whenever they needed a replacement, they brought on Chucho Hernandez, who actually made it 3 goals. So, look, lovely fixtures from game week 4 is what I'm going to say in Sarr. So, I'm a Buendia owner at the minute. I kind of think moving to Ben Rama for me is a bit point chasey. So, I'm kind of looking to stay patient with Buendia, trust the fixtures, and my heart of hearts, I'm looking at kind of Sarr from game week 4. He's 6 million price tag. Nobody's really jumping on him, I don't think, at the minute. And he's got Wolves at home, Norwich away, Newcastle at home, and Leeds away. Nice fixtures. Now, also in the game, we saw traditional Danny Ings. He did nothing really in the game. He scored a penalty and he managed to get a bonus point. And some people, there's a bit of confusion in the community. How did Danny Ings get this bonus point? And you're like, he got it through efficiency. So he had one shot. The shot was on target and the shot was a goal. And that's why, so he didn't have any kind of inefficiency due to say shots off target and stuff like that.
I think there's a lot of people every year you find someone new to the community grilling the bonus point system, but inevitably they've never actually looked at how the score is made up or why someone like Salah, who maybe misses 5 shots a game, gets penalized and he never gets bonuses when he scores just 1 goal, right? So I think people should just look up the rules of the games they play if they're that bothered and they want to go and shout out their outrage online, then at least brush up on your, rules first before you come and start talking shit online. But I feel like I'm insulting a lot of people because there's been a lot of beef in the community over the last few days, and it's kind of made me quite confrontational too. So I'm hoping someone pops in and wants to start a beef. I'd like to take Net that whole viral and get involved in our very own beef. So come on, guys! I've been calling people out for weeks. Why has no one come back to me yet?
I think the remaining matches in the game week we can just talk around, So like there was Burnley against Brighton. I haven't actually made a dedicated slide for that because it was a boring enough game. But Tarkowski scored the headed goal. It looked like a blatant push in Maupay. I think there's a chance that the goal could have been disallowed. And then Goodmanson, he's tackling Basuma. I thought he could have been sent off, if I'm being totally honest with you. It was 2 feet. He kind of followed through in his chest, and he doesn't seem like in great control. So, to a certain extent, I thought Brighton were kind of unlucky to concede. And I think that's an important point to make because I know people are on Sanchez. I know people are maybe got Veltman or Webster and guys like this on the bench. What I will say is Brighton looked awful defending corners, and I thought Sanchez looked particularly susceptible under the high ball. He looked questionable. And other points, Motor came off the bench and he provided an assist at 4.5. I think if Motor was to start, he could be an interesting option at 4.5 because he was quite progressive. And I think it's very noteworthy that both Brighton's goals came from chances down Burnley's left back side. Now we're going to see Mo Salah and Trent go up against that left hand side at the weekend. So it kind of fills me with a bit of confidence going into the fact that Liverpool are going to be at Anfield. Charlie Taylor and Dwight McNeil are maybe not the strongest combination down the left-hand side.
Yeah, no, I think you're right to not put a slide on these kind of games. We'll just kind of gloss over them, as you say. Like the main takeaway for me was we all kind of lost our Brighton clean sheet like 2 minutes in, and it kind of reminded me of exactly what I was saying in the preseason about why I wasn't going to own Sanchez, which was basically that like people said, "Oh, but Ben White's gone, so there'll be less blocks and Sanchez will make more saves." And I said, "No, he'll just concede the fucking goal." I wish I hadn't panicked about EO and moved from Backman to Sanchez. That's what I can say. I guess the other side of it as well is I do like. There's a couple of kind of players who I've also got my eye on. So obviously Lamptey's out injured at the moment, and I think at a time when we know he's back, Mr. X Lively himself. I'm still quite keen because I know Brighton do have quite an indefinite, nice length of fixtures. I don't know how long Welbeck's still out for. We got a lot of shouts for Maupay in the preseason, didn't we? And we kind of laughed him off, but he doesn't tempt you in the slightest, no?
Not really. I do think if I was looking for somebody around the price point, I like this guy, Adam Armstrong, if I'm totally honest. If I needed an escape route from Tony, that could be out there, maybe a formation change and beef up my midfield in a 3-5-2. Although I think your man Emmanuel Dennis, he went off injured, but if he's going to be a playing striker at 5 million, there could be the option to have a 5 million playing striker, but also play a 3-5-2. I think I wouldn't take that off the table.
Don't worry, I've got Dennis on a lot of my transfer trend slides. It looks like a lot of people have jumped on him already, like crazy numbers. Without knowing he's nailed, that is. But Shams has asked, are there any Newcastle slides? So no. I think the Newcastle slide was the West Ham slide, right? So
yeah,
we kind of covered that game. But he wants to know a little bit about Richie and Murphy. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on either of those players before we move to the next game.
I wouldn't buy a Newcastle defender, from being totally honest with you.
Yeah, I guess Richie is that kind of, is he on set pieces? Like, could he take corners? Could he get an assist? Could he have penalties? I guess that's where it's that whole fabled out of position player, and people love it, don't they? But I wouldn't be going near Newcastle defense either.
It wouldn't be for me. Like, have you any thoughts on the Chelsea match? Now, what my kind of initial thoughts on Chelsea were that their lineup was kind of fairly different than maybe what you're going to see going forward, because like we saw, say, Pulisic playing, Havertz didn't play, Chalobah got a game, Alonso kind of played left wing back, and you're thinking that's the way I didn't really want to get on the Chelsea today in too much depth, because I think the lineup we're going to see from Chelsea going forward, I think it's going to chop and change a lot. And for me, in terms of Chelsea, I don't really want to touch them until their fixtures swing around maybe game week 7, game week 8. And at that point, it's maybe going to be Lukaku. Where do you stand?
I think for me it's Lukaku or bust, and maybe I'd go double defense, but that would be like my wild card game week 7. I've seen again in the transfer trends, we'll see Lukaku's being funneled in by all the morons who had Kane, despite all the news saying he wasn't going to play. So I'm sorry, I can only call you morons, and I hope you're here watching the show to put that right for future weeks. But he, so I think just on that note as well, something that I was worried about is obviously we don't know who the fullbacks are for Chelsea. That it's really tough. Like even now, you've got Alonso scored. Chilwell's that's his spot. You would think you got Reece James, and then now you're actually seeing like people like Pulisic have played wing back. So like
Yeah.
even like non-defenders are playing wing back in this system. So I don't
Hudson
know whether
Odoi.
it's
I think Hudson Odoi played right wing back for him last season.
he's played as well. So it's kind of like, what do you do there? Like, do you go for like the more sexy pick in a Chilwell or a Reece James, or do you kind of play it safe with a Rudiger who you kind of think he's probably nailed?
He probably seems the most nailed, but when you look at his price point last season compared to his 5.5 this year, I think he has. I don't know. I want the fixtures to turn, if I'm being completely honest with you. Like I was fairly adamant in pre-season that I didn't want to touch Chelsea until their fixtures swing, and I'm not saying I'm not going to jump on them, but I do think I will do it at some point from game week 7 onwards.
Yeah, I think so. We
What
just got a
about
comment
Leicester?
from Andy Martin, by the way,
Sorry.
just
Go
quickly.
ahead, yeah.
He's saying he can't believe people are buying Alonso, but don't worry, I'll show you what one of the most popular defensive combos is for transfers this week, and is a fucking joke. It's basically Chilwell to Alonso. Again, like why the fuck did you start with Chilwell when we knew he wasn't going to start, and now you're selling him for Alonso? I just hope none of these people finish above anyone watching the show tonight, because these are some outrageous transfers I'm seeing in the trends.
I think these guys, if they're going to bring Alonso on, they should start playing fan team because he was quite a good pick in fan team this week. Like
Yeah.
I think if you've got a fixture, I think if you've got the lineups and you know a player's going to play, like we can see in fan team, if you know Alonso's going to play, you probably do know by the time you're finalising your team, and we don't have that benefit obviously in FPL. So he's going to play how many? Like he's going to chop and change, but Chilwell is going to be, I think, the dominant left wing back this year.
You would think so. I think Chilwell only lost his spot last year when kind of he had a little bit of dip in form as Chilwell first arrived. But you would think Chilwell is the future of that position, like surely not the murderer. Moving on from that comment before we get the episode deleted for calling out Alonso and Italian court law. And for anyone who doesn't know, go Google it for yourselves. Murderer was not an understatement. Do you have any other teams you want to cover from the weekend, or should we go into the trend?
I think the last one really was kind of Leicester against Wolves. Now I know Adama Traore put up kind of good shot numbers. I think he had 6 shots and stuff like that. He looked fairly busy. It could be a pick maybe from game week 7, although I don't know. It wouldn't really be for me if I'm being totally
It's interesting. So what I will say is he's normally, like what I saw was he's most commonly played at the right wing, but he obviously started left wing in this game under the new manager. So I thought firstly that was quite interesting. That was a bit different. And I think when they spoke to Lage afterwards, he actually said that his game plan was to find space between the lines by pulling out the opposition midfielders. So I think this actually worked really well, and it was a great effect in transition. And it did allow kind of Traore to find space and just carry the ball inside. I think he made 5 carries in the end, where he then ended up creating a chance or taking a shot, and that was the most of any player this weekend. So I could see why maybe from game week 4 when their fixtures turn, you might want to look at him. I had my eyes on Jimenez before, but actually, like Traore could be an exciting punt. And just aside from Traore and Wolves, something else I want to say is one thing I didn't. Yeah, so just on Chelsea quickly, actually. So they kind of, I guess it's too early to say that they're, dominant, but they did show their dominance, I think. And, they're kind of, right now I've read something that says that they're 25 sequences they had with 10 or more passes. And the next closest to them were Brighton with 16 of those. And West Ham had 15, Villa had 14, Liverpool had 14. So, that 25 10 plus passing sequences, they dominate the game. We saw what they did in the Super Cup. We saw what they did in the Champions League. We've seen everything they've done since the Shell came. That's why I was kind of hinting at the Lukaku plus defensive double up, because I think they're going to keep the ball for too long for anyone to score against them, if I'm frank.
No,
and that's not a pun on poor Frank either, but
I think that's fair. Like I think the issue with Chelsea for me is I don't know who's nailed, and like if pre-season's taught me anything, listening to Tom Stevenson and FPL Salah, it's that expect the minutes or everything in this game, and like I don't really know if I want to be kind of stepping out and taking a chance. I know FPL Rubber Duckies pumping up Alonso in the chat there. I owned Alonso last year and he was an absolute disaster transfer for me, if I'm being totally honest with you. Like, I could have just bought Rudiger and took the chance if he was benched at 4.5, but I don't know. It wouldn't be for me.
Fair enough. And we just want to wrap up on Leicester then before we move into the transfer trend. So I guess, did you see anything from Leicester that excited you? So obviously Vardy, he carried on his kind of goal scoring form. It seems to be ageless, this man. But again, like, I'm not spending 10 mil or whatever it is on him. So that's a no-go for me. Iheanacho, if I knew he played every week, I would love the guy. But that rotation between him, Daka, and Vardy is too much for me, if I'm honest.
I don't think Daka or Nacho are really going to be options in the game at all. I think Barnes, when you look at the weekend just past, people might keep faith in him. I think at 7 million, I think there's better options at 6.5 and better options at 6, maybe even. I don't know, like, for an extra 0.5, you could have a Greenwood. It wouldn't be for me, even Barnes at the minute. And I do agree on Vardy. Like, why would you be spending that money on Vardy whenever, like, we're looking at our premium assets, like our Brunos, our Salahs, our Son? I would rather have Hungman Son than have Vardy. Like, to be
At
completely
10
honest.
mil, yeah, for
If you were
sure.
if you were going to squeeze as much value out of your team, they have like a third kind of big hitter, nearly big hitter on there. I think it would be Son as opposed to Vardy for me.
Fair? No, that's fair. And I think if I had Barnes right now, I wouldn't be panicking to sell him because end of the day, like, I feel like having 2 free transfers and another week of information outweighs kind of knee jerking him to Ben Rama against Leicester, or like, why would you move Barnes, who's playing in the same game, to Ben Rama, who's playing in that match too? Like, just save the transfer, in my opinion.
And I think when you look at the week going past, I think West Ham. I think Leicester play West Ham, don't they, this coming week?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
Um, I think West Ham looks shaky against Newcastle defensively. Do you know?
yeah,
So I would definitely, I think, give Barnes this week.
I think so. So I guess just we're almost at the hour mark. We'll quickly do transfer trends. We probably won't spend more than 10 minutes here, and then we'll just go straight to the interactive side of things. So we've got some questions in advance. Obviously, there's been some live Q&A from today as well, so we'll do both. Going on to the transfer trends. So obviously, there's an article I write for Fantasy Football Hub every week. I typically only pick one combo. So I kind of look at, maybe, say, people selling Gundogan and they might be replacing him with Ben Rama this week. Or I might look at something like there's people selling Chilwell for Alonso, as I said. So I just pick one interesting combination that I find worth talking about. I get the data from Fantasy Football Fix, so they have a great price change notification system on the app, but they also obviously have the graphs I'm about to show you. So I'm just going to quickly read out for the podcast listeners. So I'm over the top 8 transfers in and top 8 transfers out, and then we're going to go straight into what the combinations are. So Pogba is the most transferred in with 400,000 transfers. Fernandez with nearly 300,000 transfers. Richarlison with 238,000. Lukaku with 220,000. Simicast with 217,000. Antonio 200,000. Alonso 160k. Salah 150k. So I don't think any of the transfers in at the top of the funnel are surprising. The transfers out, so there's 230,000 gain transfers out. I'm just going to laugh at you people again. Thank you for wasting a transfer. Saka, 150k transfers out. Iheanacho, 150k transfers out. Madison, 150k transfers out. Cavani, for fuck's sake, 150k transfers out. Grealish, 150k transfers out before Norwich. What
Wow.
the fuck game are you playing? White, 146k transfers out. And Havertz, 145k transfers out. Like, honestly, like, I love transfer trends. I write about it. It's like my bread and butter in the community. It's how I got started as a content creator. But part of why I like it is because, guys, you should use this as a tool. Like, look at it early on in the week, see what the combinations and the popular moves are, but don't panic. Like, don't do it just because other people are doing it. Most of them are probably morons. Like, they're not going to finish above you this season. They're probably going to quit the game by game week 4, and they're going to be long gone. I've always said this. So at each international break, and there's one in kind of game week 3 and 4, game week 8, and game week 12, we will lose like 1 million players each time. Someone will have a bad game week 3 and never log back in again once the 2-week international break is over. So we are seeing the most volatile price changes now. The earlier in the season it is, the more active players there are. Don't panic, don't knee jerk. I'm a template player. I like to be patient. You said to me, Hibbo, that I always end up rolling transfers and stuff. So there's been some very weird moves. I'm going to go straight into the top 10 combos, I think, from here. So my point is, look at these combinations and use them to kind of sense check for yourself. Like, are you thinking along the same lines? Are you part of the group think, or are you actually thinking of a slightly different move that might get you ahead because you've spotted an opportunity that no one else has? So I think unless you've got a big hole in your team, you're missing like a Salah or a Bruno, it's probably a decent time to maybe save the transfer. So the top 10 combos, for anyone listening on podcasts who can't see this, there's like a crazy clusterfuck diagram basically where Pogba is just like some kind of golden eagle lord that everyone is going towards. So I can't describe the diagram any better than that. I'm not a good artist. So there are 10 combos here, right? And Pogba is in 6 of the 10 most popular combos this week. He's already risen once. He may rise twice before the deadline. The most popular combo, as we were saying earlier, is to sell Barnes for Pogba. The second one is Havertz to Pogba. We also have an Iheanacho to Richarlison combo here. We have a Ben White to Tsimikas move. We have Gundogan to Pogba move. We have Barnes to Benrahma, Mane to Fernandes, Pepe to Pogba, Greenwood to Pogba, Jota to Pogba. There's a lot of Pogba moves in here. I just want to say, Pogba has now equaled his assist tally of the 2016-17 season and of the 2019-20 season. In that one game, he has as many assists as he did in 2 full complete seasons as a United player. I'm not convinced. This reeks to me of a Willian and a Mkhitaryan of prior years where they got 3 or 4 assists, rose 0.3 million, and then very quickly dropped the shit ton. What do you think? Like what is this like? Do you think groupthink is right here? Like, would you be selling any and all midfielders in the game to get to Pogba?
Not really, but I look at say Gundogan, and there's definite word that it looks as if he's definitely going to be out of the Norwich game. So you're going to have to find a replacement for him there. So I kind of find it understandable that they're moving out, but at the same time, I look at Pogba and I kind of think playing that kind of left side of like a front three. I do think he's an attractive player if he was to stay there, but I think there's enough doubt. We know he can play centre midfield, so I think there's going to be a time will come where he'll move back and he'll play centre midfield. I don't see but what I will say, like watching United against Leeds, it was like let the wild horses run free, and like Pogba, I thought Pogba was magnificent. I thought Greenwood was, and I thought Bruno Fernandes played very advanced. So they've got Southampton next. I don't think it's a worse move for like one game.
No, it's not the worst move.
I know like they've got good fixtures right through the game week 6, so maybe these guys could get lucky. Like, but Pogba, I don't know. It wouldn't be for me. I don't think.
I still think he's going to drop deeper back, and I'm not convinced he keeps up this time. Now, he's an interesting one. Obviously, as someone who's already got triple United, he doesn't even cross my mind because I'd have to essentially sell Greenwood for him, right? And at the same price point, I'm going to stick by Greenwood playing striker, right? Like, I don't want the assists, I want the goals. And I'd like to think I can see a praise for a hat-trick from Greenwood this weekend. So
it's a move that I'm not kind of getting price anxiety about, because quite often when there's a bandwagon on the community, I see everybody moving a certain direction. At times I can kind of get caught up in the hype where I start thinking, oh, should I be on this player? And I'm really not feeling that with Pogba. Just gut feel.
Yeah, like I feel like obviously if you've got a fire on your team you want to put out, you need to free up money. Like there's no problem with moving to him now. But I think unless your team's got an actual issue you need to deal with, like you can wait to see a bit more and just see, does he play left wing again this weekend, for example? That would be an interesting thing to know. What I'd then like to kind of look at next, I guess, is I'd then like to look at the top 10 combinations in a position. So these graphs, they're a lot more visually appealing. It's a bit clearer to see where the combinations are happening. So this is the top 10 forward combinations. And this is what I was saying about Dennis earlier. He might not be in the top 8 most transfers in total, but he makes up 4 of the combos in the top 10 forward combos. So we've got kind of Iheanacho to Richarlison is the most popular combo. That's nearly 8% of all forward moves this week. Iheanacho to Antonio is another 5% of all the forward moves. We then have Vardy to Lukaku. We have Ings to Richarlison, Ings to Lukaku, Werner to Lukaku, Perica to Dennis. RIP, Perica left the Premier League, so no one can buy him. They can only sell him. Tini to Dennis, Obafemi to Dennis, who's probably also on his way out, and Iheanacho to Dennis again. So, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I look at this and I'd want to see more from Dennis before kind of, like, why would you take your 4.5 mil bench striker? Oh, Dennis. Yeah, no, I know. And he's still being transferred in. Yeah, and he's still being transferred in. But like, well, my question is number 7 combo here. Yeah, so Perica. Surely you bought this guy to rot on your bench as a non-playing striker, and you're using a valuable free transfer. It's a 7th most fucking popular combo to bring in Dennis for an extra 0.5 to bench him too. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, don't just follow the trends of transfers because that's what happens. Like, we're on Twitter. There's a big community. There's a lot of groupthink and template and all that. Most people playing this game, like, they're just kind of logging in the day before or the day after a game. They're seeing who got the most points and they're just clicking transfer confirm, and that's the end of it, right? Like, they're not even looking at stats. They're not watching games. They don't give a shit. So that's who we're competing against, guys. Slow and steady. Be patient. We'll get our top 10Ks. All the haulers here. We know you had a great start to the season, so let's keep that up. What I also find interesting, Hibbo, is the people kind of selling Ings for Richarlison and Lukaku after he got a goal and a bonus and has 2 good games to come. Is that not like a bit early again as well? Like, could you not have 2 free transfers and like get to Lukaku without the hit and like do something interesting with 2 weeks of info? Like, why sell Ings now? Like, isn't he gonna play? Like, I'm pretty sure his game is like fucking Newcastle at home in front of the
Yeah,
Villa fans. Like,
that's a
I don't
crazy
understand.
move. Crazy move for me. Like, like taking a player who's got a home fixture against like such a team that just conceded 4 goals. Madness, in my opinion.
It is mad. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's actually nuts. And none of it makes sense to me. Like, 3 of the combos are to bring Lukaku in, and like, I know he's playing an Arsenal team that can't defend, but like Arsenal will probably play with a back 3, and I can't imagine like this is the time to bring in Lukaku. Like, does that mean they don't own one of Salah or Bruno? Is he their second premium?
I think I've seen some stuff during the week that like Son had negative sales as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. All of these guys, people who scored points are getting sold. It's So if we go to the midfielder combo now, this graph's pretty funny too. So obviously we know Pogba's here. He made up 6 of the 10 popular combos of all positions, but in the midfield alone, he actually makes up 7 of the 10 combos. And you have all kinds of moves here. You have Barnes to Pogba, Havertz to Pogba, Gundogan to Pogba, Barnes to Benrahma, Mane to Fernandes is a common one we see. People who maybe doubled up on Salah and Mane, I guess, got burnt the fuck out and are going back to Fernandes now, having learned their lesson. Pepe to Pogba, Greenwood to Pogba, Jota to Pogba, Havertz to Son. That's not bad. I like that. And Rafinha to Pogba. It's like, why did you start with Rafinha before game week 4 if you were then just going to sell him? Like, the whole point was he was like underpriced and you were going to keep him and not get him in game week 4. Like, are they going to buy him back in game week 4 or 5? Like, when Pogba then gets sold? Like, I don't like this hokey cokey. That's not my kind of game. Like, sell a player then buy them back 2 weeks later. I feel like this is what this guy's going to do. Well, not this guy. It's 2% of all midfielder sales is that combo.
I think Rafinha was unlucky not to get a return in the game. And I think Rafinha owners, they were going on the game week 1 knowing that they were playing away at Old Trafford. Not really sure what they were expecting. They then sell him. They've got some nice fixtures coming. I just, I think if you're jumping, throwing your lot on with Rafinha, you're keeping him for the next couple at least.
You would hope so. And what do you feel about, I guess, there's still like kind of the Gundogan sale. I get that. Like, we from what we gather, he is going to miss the Norwich game. That's kind of the latest from what it sounds like. It's probably not more sinister than that. He'll probably be back shortly after. But so it makes sense to maybe move off of him. But I don't quite kind of see that Gundogan to Pogba would be the most popular move. Like, that again reeks to me of chasing points. Like, if you were selling Gundogan this week and you wanted a City mid for the Norwich game, wouldn't you sell Gundogan for a City mid? Or like, I don't get it. Like, why Pogba again? Like, I just don't quite understand. Like, for 5-6 years, people have been mocking him, and like, he gets 4 assists, and suddenly like he's an FPL asset.
I think he should come with a disclaimer that you don't get last week's points.
I think so. I definitely think in the first few weeks, people just look at who's top of the points table when they hit transfer out on a player. They see Pogba's top and they click buy, and that's literally their entire thought process. And look at all of us fools who sit here deliberating, watching tons of shows, reading tons of articles, and half the time these morons outscore us. I guess it is what it is, right? It's like our good old poker tournaments. No matter how good you think you are, you can always lose. Going into kind of defenders, is the last section I want to really focus on, because goalkeepers, I will just mock the people doing that. But so this is insane. Like, this is basically everyone is being sold for Simicast, But there is a really fucked up transfer here too, right? So number 6 most popular defender combo is Veltman to Pinnock. Just please hold me. Just fucking hold me. So we got White to Simicas, White to Pinnock as well. Manquillo to Simicas. Like, why the fuck did you have Manquillo? He was meant to rot on your bench, and now you're selling him. Like, Veltman for Simicas, White for Amity. Amity led to 2 of the big chances that led to a goal this week in the Premier League. I think I saw Bakar put a tweet out saying there was like 5 big chances created by a sloppy error this week, and 2 of them were from fucking Amity, and they've just signed Vestergaard. And there's morons here selling White for Amity. Veltman to Pinnock, as I said, White to Ailing. Jesus Christ. Target to Simicas, Trent to Simicas. We just seen Robbo on the fucking grass, lad. And then Chilwell to Alonso, the one I was calling out earlier. Like, oh my lord. Like, so I never like to use moves with defenders. Like it's almost like a never thing. So to see this section, this is probably why I'm rattled now. Like, just defender transfers are bad enough in my book, right? And like I look for upside in my moves, but I don't know what the fuck we're looking at here. Like Pinnock? Tell me about Pinnock. Have we even spoken about him today in any of the reviews of any of the games?
He took a long throw. He's basically the new Rory.
He took a long throw, yeah. Was that him? Is it the Brentford chap?
I think so.
I don't even know. This is what I mean. That's like, I can't believe he's in the most popular combo of defenders in.
Well, like when I think Brentford conceded 22 shots against Arsenal, and Arsenal were under strength. Like, you know that they didn't have Laka, they didn't have Oba, like they were missing players. So I would be worried about the kind of shot volumes that Brentford are going to concede, like bringing on panic.
I would be worried. And we've got obviously so Sam Whitman saying there's a lot of bandwagon transfers here. That's true. We also have Robert Duck saying maybe some of these people are taking hits to bring in a premium. I don't see Manquillo to Simicas as freeing up money for a premium. I don't see White to Ailing freeing up money. White to Amity, 0.5, is that going to get you a premium? So like I agree, like maybe the Trent to Simicas one is, but pretty much every other move here is fucking sideways. Like I just do not understand defender moves. I'm going to be honest with you.
The Trent to Simicas move's a dead move, because even if they're making the move to free up money to get a premium, they've got a dead option from maybe next week. So if those boys are competing against me, bring it on.
Bring it on. And then the last one, because if you thought I was raging about the defenders, oh my fucking lord, what is wrong with you? You're using a free transfer on a fucking goalkeeper in game week 2. Like, okay, just I don't like, hold me isn't even enough for this one. Give me a shot. I don't know what to tell you. They had Foster and they're selling him for Raya. They had Martinez, they're selling him for Raya. They had Martinez, they're selling him for Schmeichel. Good luck with your 0.5 million. Schmeichel ain't getting 9 points every week. Martinez to Sanchez. Jesus Christ. Sanchez to Schmeichel. Spending more money on fucking goalkeepers. Sanchez to Raya. Steele to Raya. This Steele and Foster moves to upgrade the dud goalkeeper. I don't know what to tell you. Henderson. We knew he had fucking COVID to Schmeichel. Forster. Who owns this guy and why is he being sold? To Raya and then Lloris to Schmeichel. I honestly don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm sorry, if you're on the podcast, you have to come to the YouTube. Like, you have to see these graphs. Please, just look at these 10 minutes of transfer trends graphs. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I'm not even going to entertain commenting beyond my outrage there unless you want to say anything before we move on. Like,
no, I think you've covered it all.
What a fucking scam. Like, someone passed me a blunt. So Twitter submitted questions. Now we get to the fun part. So let's hear what everyone's been asking during the week. We have some questions from some friends of the show. Just before we do that, for anyone who's new to the show, who doesn't know about our self-deprecating humor, I'm going to show you a couple episodes ago where we interviewed Tom Stevenson, Hibbo and I, and we were 1 minute into the show and there was a bit of a tumbleweed moment, let's just say. It's a little bit embarrassing, but we like a good laugh. Definitely our most popular member of the Net That Haul crew, and you can definitely be our 5th crewmate now going forwards. Definitely be our 5th crewmate now going forwards. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So, just while we're here as well, guys, so please do continue. So please do continue to hit that like and subscribe button. As I was saying in that very embarrassing clip, I had the pleasure of actually meeting Tom Stevenson, so FPL _badges9 at Fest on Friday, and he has agreed to come back despite that moment. So thank you. We're looking forward to having you back, Tom. So let's jump straight into it, Hibbo. The first question, I'll read it out, and then I guess we can alternate. So this is from @tweetwham West Ham. So he says, "Is it the right time to jump off Simicus?" I think maybe he meant on. Would you transfer out Mahrez before or after the Norwich game? And do you think he will be a starter? Quick
Well,
fire here. Let's go
yeah,
through these
quick
ones
fire. The
quickly.
right time to jump off Samicus is when it becomes an issue, and I think we're going to see Chelsea away, or no, they're going to play Chelsea at home and they're going to play Leeds away. I probably wasn't going to double on Liverpool defence then anyway, so I think he's going to become an issue maybe after these first two games. I wouldn't transfer him out until Robbo's back. I maybe would let him rot on the bench and Tommy Wildcard. Would I transfer out Mahrez before or after Norwich? I would definitely wouldn't transfer him out before Norwich.
We have had someone in the chat, Sam. He has sold him for Pogba, so I think he needed to free up money. He said to like use for something. But again, like I would have thought you started with Mahrez for this game, and
Yeah.
I'm just sorry that you only listened to us after the transfer was confirmed, because like I'm pretty sure Mahrez is going to outscore Pogba this week. But let's see. We'll play.
Mahrez is obviously a risk, and we know his minutes are always a risk. But before Norwich, if I see like Norwich bracket, H bracket, I'm never selling a player before that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. I guess the next question then. So another friend of the show @Trophy FPL, he said, Villa defense, was that a one-off or should we ditch? Which 4 million defender is best? And are you going to try and make a transfer, I guess, to get a piece of City versus Norwich?
Do you want to answer this or me?
I was supposed to let you read that one out for me to answer, but Villa defense, yeah, that was not a good look that Target got subbed off. He's a decent defender at half time because of Saad terrorizing him. That is a little bit worrying. I think there's Concert, there's Target, there's obviously Martinez. I said at the start of the season I wouldn't have really gone for a 5.5 goalkeeper. So I think if you have him, you have to set and forget until wild card. And you made a really good point here, but didn't you, that you almost get two chances at goalkeeper. That if you get it wrong now, you can get it right on wild card. We'll know who the value pick is. If they've got a defender rather than the goalkeeper, though, I reckon like around game week 4 when the Villa fixtures turn, whether this was a one-off or not, I would just ditch. I would go for like a Eiling. I would go for a Firpo at 5 million if he's doing well. I would maybe even like look at Tierney at that point or White. Like there's a lot of players I would be going to essentially. I'm not really one for Villa defense, personally speaking. I remember last year they were conceding a lot of chances as well, and they were kind of bailed out by Martinez being a hero. That kind of stuff doesn't last forever. Like you can't just keep conceding high XG shots and get away with it, I don't think. And then on the 4 million defenders, I guess Simicas is the best at the moment. Like obviously, he's kind of a 4 million starting Liverpool fullback. How often does something like that ever happen? He's probably only going to last a week or two at most. And am I going to try to get a piece? Sorry, go on.
I think it's interesting that the guy Hoover started for Wolves and
I like the look of him.
Liveramento as well for Southampton. So I think we know that Amarty's a dead option. Samicus is basically going to become one soon. So I think those two boys maybe have the most promise. And I think once we move on to kind of next week, we've a bit of time because Wolves fixtures are kind of yet to swing in their favour. And same for Southampton.
Yeah, no, I think Livramento. He was obviously the Chelsea, I think, Academy Player of the Year last year. So there's like a lot of Chelsea fans have been telling me good stuff about him, and I'd like to see more of him. But it is Southampton defense, and that does worry me. So let's keep an eye on that. Are you going to get a piece of City versus Norwich? So I obviously play lots of other formats. So I play like Sky for the first time this year. I've got 2 teams. I got 12 entries into the fan team season long. Gundo was in a lot of them. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. It's too early in the week to make a decision, but he's definitely being sold. If I had Mane, while everyone is running to Bruno, like if you were in the Bruno crowd and you don't have Bruno and you had like a Salah Mane double up, I'd probably just do Mane to KDB for this game, if I'm perfectly honest. I'd swerve. Everyone else is going for Bruno chasing a hat trick. I'd just get KDB and captain him. Just go all in. Go all in. Get Bruno later. You didn't want to start with him. Why bottle it now 1 week in from a hat trick from like an XG of 1, right? What about you? Are you going to use any free transfers in FPL? I mentioned all these other formats just because they're the only formats I'm going to have a City player in. I'm not doing any transfers this week in FPL.
I won't have a City player. I kind of planned my first 6 weeks, and like I look at this fixture, and it's obviously hugely attractive, but I don't really know who I can trust. I don't really know who's going to play. I don't really want a player that's going to become an issue for me maybe next week or the week after. So I'm going to swerve the fixture.
I'm getting a lot of comments about I look ridiculous and shit. So I just thought for a second, like for the fans, I'll we'll get the little outfit on. I won't put it on fully because we're not at 50 likes, so you lot don't deserve me dressing up in a onesie. But I'll put it on briefly. I think Andy took 8 pictures of me, which sounds a bit sinister. So, 4 of them were taken with my knowledge, apparently. Sorry to the podcast listeners. Do you want to read this one out?
Yeah, so this is from Jaskarans32 on Twitter. So they're saying transfer out Jota or roll a transfer. And if you were transferring out Jota, what's the best option? Saying that most likely Greenwood comes with rotation risk.
I would honestly keep him at this point. I would take that 60-minute sub to mean he's starting the next game personally. I'm a bit nervous. Obviously, Firmino's back. He's looking ready. They don't play the front 4 often, all of them together. But, people talking about Burnley being a low block team. If there was ever a time where he might play 4 attackers, you would think maybe this would be the game. And even still, if not, you would think Jota starts again and maybe gets subbed early for Firmino. So he's explosive. When he's on the pitch, he's capable of double-digit hauls. I think last year he was subbed on and got a brace as well in like 20 minutes. So I wouldn't worry too much. Long term, I'd consider selling him. They're saying Greenwood's obviously an option. I don't know if I'd do Jota to Greenwood at this point. I would, again, like I said, just keep Jota and get a second week of information and do 2 free transfers the following week, maybe, if you're that keen. If Firmino does go on international duty for Brazil, that would probably mean he doesn't play in Gameweek 4. So actually, Jota could be a captain shout then.
Against
So
Leeds.
that's my other thinking. Yeah. So my thinking is he could lead the line against Leeds when Firmino's not back yet or is in quarantine. So I wouldn't be looking to move Jota on. But eventually, when you do, I think by then we'll have a better idea who the best asset at that price point is. I wouldn't be knee-jerking straight to Greenwood now. They both got pretty much the same points. At FPL_Saka, he says, what should he do with Barnes? Obviously, we saw in the transfer trends, there was a lot of Barnes sales. Greenwood or Jota. I'm assuming Barnes is being sold to one of them. And Sarr or Benrahma. Now, I don't know whether he's selling Barnes to any one of those 4, or if we need to pick one of Greenwood and Jota and one of Sarr or Said.
I'll be honest, if I own Barnes, I would nearly be tempted to sell. I don't own him. If I had to pick between Greenwood or Jota, I would pick Greenwood because I trust his minutes a bit more at the minute. We don't know if Jota's even going to start. And I think that Greenwood's going to start the next match. Now, in terms of Sarr or Benrahma, I'm going to say Benrahma.
Yeah, I'm with Benrahma for now. I think Sarr long term, if like Lingard comes and Benrahma isn't as nailed eventually. But for now, from what we've seen, I'd be picking Benrahma all day. And like, if he was going to sell Barnes for one of Greenwood or Jota, I'd probably still go for Greenwood, I think, personally, just because he looks pretty nailed on for the time being anyway. And he played like 90 minutes, I think, most of the preseason games. And he played 90 minutes in game week 1. But then obviously loads of the other players played in that behind closed doors friendly against Burnley, we were saying earlier. So I think Greenwood's fitness, he's elite. And I saw some amazing quotes from Ole. If you dads don't follow, I think is at Combe Hayes. He's like, does all the rounds up of the quotes from all the presses. And the quotes from Ole were like, yeah, like the stuff Greenwood does now, like he would never do that 2 years ago. He was a boy. He's a fucking man now. He was like, Greenwood is a man. He is a man. And he loves him. And when they asked him, is he a striker? Like, are you going to make him a striker? He said, who said I want him to play striker? He said, I want him to play everywhere. He's
But
good
I
in
think
every
that's
position.
I think that's a play with Greenwood. Like we're looking at Greenwood and people are saying, oh, he's minutes. But he can play these wings and he can play the centre forward. So he is going to get the chances. And like we knew that Rashford was going to be out for a fairly medium term period, and we knew that Sancho was going to be late, and we knew that Cavani was going to be late. So for me, it's kind of the perfect storm of the fixtures. So if I had to pick between the 2, I would say Greenwood definitely.
And just on a final point, Tom does say Barnes does have Norwich in game week 3. So is it maybe a bit rash to sell him? I know it's obviously West Ham. Now we've said West Ham leak goals. So is it maybe a bit rash to sell Barnes before a leaky West Ham and then Norwich? Or is it points chasing to sell him for Greenwood or Jota now?
Could be. I know Tom's got Barnes. That's why he's saying that.
There's always a reason. I don't know whose turn it is to read one now. I'll let you go.
This is Akshay Akundi. So this is our friend from Manhattan in New York. So he's saying, what's your thoughts on Son? So with Kane leaving and Son basically being in every set piece, he thinks he should be considered essential. What do you think?
It's good you asked me because we should point actually to like the 7 episodes in preseason where you were banging that Sun drum. Like you were like, I want him from the first day.
And I didn't do it.
I know, it's
I'm
sad.
really disappointed. I'm really disappointed because I had a draft with Son and Ben Ram on it, and I think I would have high scored made that hole. And when I saw you boys hitting like 111, 112, like I can't lie, I was angry. Like
At least I got benched in that FPL Championships or whatever. So you can be happy. You can be captain next week. So for me, like I think whether Kane was leaving or going, I said this in a previous episode. Like Son's numbers are tremendous either way. I think there was a period under Poch where Kane didn't play, and everyone thought Spurs were going to do really badly, and they actually played better without Kane. As Son was running riot. So I've always said about Son, if you look at his minutes over the last 5 years, he's never had that many seasons where he's played like that much over 2,000 minutes. Like, well, he's never really had a 3,000-minute season. And last season was his best season ever, like in his career, I think. I think, he signed that new contract. He is the talisman with if Kane goes. But personally, I would just have Son and I would play him every week and I'd keep him for the whole season because you know what you're getting. You're probably going to cross 200 points, as you've said before, Hibbo. I don't really think it matters about the set pieces with him. I think he's just an incredible player. I think he's world class. 10 million for a midfielder of his caliber, it feels a steal to me. I'm surprised he is not considered essential by more people, with or without Kane. So I'll read this one out to you, Hibbo. So at Noble, FPL Noble Gent, another one of the chaps I had the pleasure to meet at Fest. So he asked about the 4 million defenders. Obviously, we talked about them. I guess the first thing I would say there is, like we've said, kind of keep an eye on Livramento. We also said keep an eye on who else did we say?
Hoover, Wolves.
Hoover at Wolves, yeah, I do like him. And if Neco Williams goes to Norwich, I guess he does also then say, do you think even when Robbo is back, like should we just have a 4 million defender anyway? Because I know there was a lot of drafts with kind of Trent and Robbo, double Liverpool defense this year, and then those people were probably going to have no Bruno either. And then suddenly they say 3 million from Robbo to Simicast, and they all have Bruno now.
Well, my position on this is like I know a lot of people when they were drafting their teams were going for say a 3-5-2 with Obafembe, and they were happy enough to say, "Oh, I have a dead slot in my team." Like I've always felt that way about like a 4 mil defender. I've always felt, well, I don't really care for 4 mil defenders, like kind of third sub on my bench, because how often do you have to rely on your third sub?
I mean, they have to be your third sub though, right? Like they can't be your starting 11 player. Like
they can't be your starting 11. They can't probably be your second sub either. Now, what I will say is, do you think even when Rabo's back, that 4 million defenders are ready to go forward? I don't know if I would double in Liverpool defence, if I'm being totally honest with you, because
I would.
I couldn't afford the kind of structure which I have at the minute. If that's what the suggestion is there, and I'm looking at my team now thinking, how can I shoehorn Son on for maybe game week 3? It's kind of on my mind. So I do think 4 mil defenders are going to be the way to go. I think we're going to find out soon if Hoover or Livramento's maybe the most nailed, if any of them are.
I think the last one I would add is Ben Johnson might become more nailed as the season goes on, and he's quite interesting as well at 4 million. But again, like we've already said, we don't see West Ham keeping many clean sheets. And on that note, so at FPL_tactician, so Andy Martin, another friend of the show, he says obviously West Ham versus Leicester is going to be a hard fixture to predict in game week 2. Like, how do you see it going? Like, I guess what are our score predictions here?
Goals maybe over 2.5.
Yeah, I'm expecting like a kind of a 2-2. That's kind of like my prediction. I think they'll fight each other out, both concede, and it will be a stalemate. That's my view. I'm going to rattle through these quick fire because we said we'd try and do an hour and a half, and we've now got to get to the live Q&A soon. So next one, this will be very quick. At FPL_Baker, your favorite snack?
Sahara nuts.
I don't know what mine is. Does pizza count as a snack?
Aye, definitely.
All right, we'll take that and we'll go. Another one. At Carrick Low, is it too early to say that Vardy is the one forward we should consider from Leicester? They do have Europa League to compete for in this season. I think he answered himself in the second sentence.
I don't like the price point for Vardy. Do you know, we've spoke about this. Like if I'm going to shoehorn on 10 million-ish player, it's going to be maybe Son, but it's going to stretch my team a wee bit. So Vardy's kind of off the table for me.
I'm not going near him. I see the appeal and wanting a piece of that Leicester attack. I think it is too early to pick which one. I'd rather get one of Daka or Iheanacho if either became nailed. But again, 3 people competing for 2 places, not for me. At Nick Triggerlips, there's a question that I love because it is about the knee-jerk transfers I was just talking about. He says, are you going to be influenced by price drops in your transfers with regards to Tony? So as we saw, I don't think Tony's name even appeared in the top 10 forward transfers out and combos. So I think it's too early for people to panic with him facing Palace next. If he blanks against Palace, are you going to be worrying and will you sell him to avoid a price drop is my question.
I'm not going to be a liar. Like, so he's asking, am I going to be influenced by price drops? Definitely.
For Tony specifically, like
No, but just price drops in general. Like I do get a bit of price anxiety. Now I can keep my powder dry to a certain point, but part of what I'm doing this week in terms of saving the transfer, that's possibly making a route to get the Sun, and that could maybe be by downgrading Tony a bit. So I don't know. I can't say I wouldn't consider price. I definitely would consider price.
I think I would keep Tony because of the good Brentford fixtures. So as Tom Stevenson is also saying, I would kind of keep him personally. I had him. I'm not going to sell him, but when I wildcard, I may reshift budget around. I might move to a 3-5-2. If I did sell Tony, it wouldn't be that I'm influenced by price drops as such. It would be that I see an opportunity to downgrade him to a 4.5, kill off my third striker, and get Son in as another mid. So if I don't have a good game week 3 captain, I may want to captain Son, and I don't own him. So Tony could be the one that makes way. I think I saw a stat that Tony didn't take a shot or didn't take a shot on target in game week 1 either, which is not great. Like after I said he's a talisman and he's on penalties.
I thought he played well, and I kind of thought on a
He
different
played well,
day.
yeah.
I thought he was, on a different day, he was a strand of hair away from getting an assist, and we weren't.
I guess he had everyone on him, which is what freed up Mbeumo, right? Like,
well, that's it. I think we're going to see maybe the best of Tony against Palace, so I wouldn't get too nervous. He's good in the air, and we know Palace are pretty weak in the air, so we'll wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. And then we've got at general_Zod_P1. Bruno, hold your nerve or shit out. I guess I said go for KDB instead, if you are shitting out. But otherwise, hold your nerve, in my opinion. Like, you went without him. You can't be bringing him in after a hat trick. Like, that is chasing last week's points.
No, shit out, I'm going to say. You've got it wrong.
Yeah, I guess you've got to be able to admit a mistake as well.
Don't be afraid. They might say you've made a mistake. It's kind of my big opinion, so...
Very good point. And we've got an interesting one here from @actor_Abdul. Is Lucas Moura a viable pick to replace Gundogan instead of Greenwood or Benrahma? I wouldn't go near that with a stick.
No, it wouldn't be for me. He looks like a transfer waiting to happen. You're going to buy him and probably try to move him on. He could do well in the next 3 games, don't get me wrong, but...
We don't like these kind of 2-3 week punts, right? Like, I think we said before in the interviews with Tom and Abdul, like, we buy a player, we're probably looking at least 4 to 6 weeks ahead. Like, we want to be playing them all of those games.
Look at that lineup, right? Look at the Spurs lineup and look at Lucas Moura. If the game's not going the way that they want, who's going to come off? And it's more than likely going to be Lucas Moura. He's one of them players that gets subbed, or maybe doesn't start.
Yeah, no, I agree. At Benny_Blanco40 as well, so another friend of the show. Is a -20 too much in game week 2, or should I just delete my team? Thanks, lads.
No, I think maybe even go -24.
Yeah, why not? Funnily enough, this is actually the last question before we move straight into live Q&A. So I would say at this point, probably wildcard. But yeah, very different opinions. -24 from one of us, a wildcard from the other. We're going to go to questions live. So while I play a little ad, if you guys can just put any final questions you have that you don't feel we've answered today, any game week 2 dilemmas, any kind of captaincy questions, transfers, anything you want to know, let us know. In the meantime, I'm just going to play a quick ad. So this is from allaboutfpl.com. Obviously, I'm a co-editor of the site, and Surya comes onto Net That Haul on the matchup show every other week. We had an incredible day where he actually went on the John Dykes show, I think, via you, Hibbo, wasn't it? On Fox Sports Asia, and met his kind of idol, someone he's been watching for decades about football, and he got to go on air with him and be interviewed about FPL and represent both allaboutfpl.com and Net That Haul.
It was lovely to see. It was lovely to see Surya so made up. Like, he was like genuinely delighted. Like, it was like a lifetime's ambition. So
I think, yeah, he genuinely seems so happy. And on that note, then, so we'll tell you all about FPL.com.
Are you craving more FPL content? Then look no further than allaboutfpl.com. Head over there for weekly articles from some of the top content creators on the planet. So what are you waiting for? Head over to allaboutfpl.com, the website for all your FPL needs.
So what are you waiting for? Okay, so let's move away from the screen share. Let's go into the two-screen view. I'm going to put up some of the questions. I think Gavinho said delete your team to Benny. I'll just pass that on.
just for information, Benny's joking. Like, Benny's like one of the biggest jokers in the FPL Twitter. So he's not really taking -20, because I can see Adewale in the chat saying -20 what? This isn't really like, it's.
We've got another question from FPL Arrows. We've got, I think, FPL Fraser. Don't know a lot about Tony. The tactics was also unique. Tony dropped deep. Mboma kind of played up front. Yeah, okay, so that's what we were saying about Mboma kind of looked out of position. But I actually clicked on the wrong thing. I was trying to click on Bungle. He was saying, morning, Hibbo, Pikachu. Odegaard transfer is all but done. Will Arsenal still be poo-poo as assets forever, ever, 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 ever?
You can answer this one.
Tierney at 5 million. I think he could be okay. Saka at 6.5, I like. Pepe, if he's nailed, decent. And most of us probably have Ben White in our team. And if you're bloody selling him for Highling this week, then I don't know what to fucking tell you. Just bench him and play him in game week 4. He'll be fine. So we have a lot of what are you waiting for is in here. It's a lot of shout outs to what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
Gavinho has a question on there, doesn't he?
Does he have a real question?
Yeah.
If you had to downgrade one of Antonio, Ings, or Tony in game week 3 or 4, so that is my front line, in order to shift to a 3-5-2, who would you ditch first? Ings for me.
Well, Ings in game week 4, he's got a decent game week 3 fixture. Ings in game week 4, his fixtures turn fairly bad, like, so I think if he was going for 4, I would say Ings.
Yeah, no, I think so. We do have another question about how many wildcards were used, or like how many do we think we used. So on livefpl.com at the moment, I'm just having a quick look. There was a lot of chips actually used. I was surprised by the total chip usage overall. So it doesn't see, obviously, like I can't see the wildcards yet. We'll see them in game week 2, but chip usage in general. So there was 2.1% of the game used the bench boost, 3.5% used triple captain. So already we have over 5% of the entire player base have used the chip. Do you think it's going to double to 10% by the time the wildcards are active? What are your guesses here?
I don't know. Like, I'm wondering why people are playing their wildcard going on the game week 2, if I'm being totally honest. But
yeah, I think it's like I would not go near it unless like you've literally got not a starting 11. I would not be taking a wildcard now. Are Watford a team to target for captaincy?
I think it's a bit early for me to tell, if I'm being totally honest with you. I thought they did well. Like, I thought they attacked well, but I think away from home they had quite a good home record when they were in the Championship under this manager. So I think if you were going to target them, it would be like in a home game for your premium option, I suppose. So that would be my view.
Yeah, I'd want to wait and see as well. Anthony Chung asks, do we see Leicester switching to a 3-5-2 in the West Ham game in game week 2?
Again, it's hard to say. Like, it's hard to predict that like teams are going to start changing their system and stuff like that. For us to tell that. So I wouldn't have thought so if they take a punt at it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. But maybe on the matchup show on, I think it's Friday, is it, or Thursday this week, when Gabe and so FPL Lens and FPL Marin, they're going to come on. We might know a little bit more by then. Maybe there's been some presses as well. So I think we can know more. If Madison is injured, who is the best replacement from Kyle? Do you know how much Madison costs? Is it like 7.5?
I think he's 7.5. How long did I check here?
I'm very much on the Greenwood hype train. Like I would just be going to Greenwood. If you need some money to save, Ben Rama and Sarah are pretty feasible, I think. We've got a similar question about a Gundogan.
He's 7 million, like, so I think
7, okay.
I think Ben Rama's probably the standout pick going by last week, and he's going to be the bandwagon type pick, but he
I
would
think
probably
so.
be, he'd probably be where I would go.
Yeah, and I think similarly the Gundogan replacement question. If I knew that Ferran Torres was going to start up front, I would maybe take a punt on Gundogan to Ferran Torres. But there's talks of obviously Jesus being ready; he might start. So I'm a bit worried there. I don't know how Nel Torres is, but he could have an explosive forward. Last year, obviously, Gabe he brought in Torres, didn't he, for a City double game week or something along those lines, and
He
got
did.
an
I
incredible return.
think it worked out well from that week that he did it. I know it was a big shout out in the matchups, and it really worked for him. So
Exactly. I think it was when we found out like Aguero wasn't starting or something on those lines, and he made a very last minute decision based on like what Sam Lee was saying in the Athletic Live Q&A. It was a tough one to figure out, but he did it. He called it right. So they said in the pod matchup last week, Leicester concede more on their left. So start Kufal regardless of clean sheet. I guess my question is Kufal your third defender? Because like if you have a fourth mid or a third striker, you would be playing over him. I'd probably play them. He did look lively in the last game anyway, and I do expect them to score, so he could very much get an assist, as Ramanathan is saying. But I think unless he's your third defender, like I don't know if I'd be starting Kufal against Leicester as a fourth defender over like an attacking player.
no, I think I agree with you. I would want to know who his other defenders are. If you can pop them on the chat, sure we can.
Yeah, if you popped in the chat, Ramanathan, we'll continue that answer. But and as Chris says, or Mariner, like West Ham will concede. So Leicester have only 3 centre backs available from Shams, including Amity. It would be risking everything having no backup. So almost no chance of a Leicester 3-5-2. That's a very good point. So I just wanted to bring that up on screen. We've also been asked by Sam, Rudiger against Arsenal, bench or Dunk against Watford, bench. So who are we benching?
Who will we
Rudiger
bench or
or
who will
Dunk?
we start?
Yeah. So I think the question is like, are we starting Rudiger against Arsenal at the Emirates or Dunk against Watford? For me, that's Dunk against Watford every time, as good a defense as Rudiger is, and Chelsea are, just because I think Dunk takes set pieces and stuff sometimes. I've seen him score a free kick, like a direct free kick. He's he's lethal. I reckon he can get an attacking return against Watford, if I'm honest.
I would play Dunk out of those options.
I just really like Dunk. He's also a bonus point magnet. Now, there's every chance that Chelsea keep a clean sheet against Arsenal. I'm not denying that, but Rudiger always feels to me like a kind of a 2-point or a 6-pointer. Whereas with Dunk, I feel if you get lucky, just a clean sheet could be 9 points with no attacking return. Like he will smash in the bonus if there's a clean sheet.
Just to touch on Ramanathan's question here. So he's saying Meslier or Backman. Sorry, wrong question.
Oh,
Meslier or Backman in goal for the coming week. I would go Mesley, I think.
who's Leeds playing again? Everton,
Leeds are
right?
at home to Everton.
Yeah, I think I'd play Meslier. Yeah,
Watford are away to Brighton, like quite good
I'm sure
XG last
Morpay
week.
Morpay is going to smash in that Watford goal. I'm sure. Just sticking to Ramanathan, he's saying Kufal's his playing defender. I would be playing Ailing over Kufal this week personally.
I think when you're looking at his return and the way he hit the ball last week, and the fact that we were banging on in pre-season about how he's good, such a good option at 4.5, he does give you that expected return in terms of assists and stuff, and maybe goals as well. So I'd be tempted to go Ailing as well.
Yeah, no, I think so. Gavinia just added another point to the whole Leicester back three debate. So he said obviously they've got Vestergaard, Amity, and Soyuncu. I don't know how fit Soyuncu is. Saying when Castanya's back, or if he's back, then maybe there would be a 3-5-2. I guess obviously that's depending on when Castanya's back, which I don't think it will be this week. Sam has also said, just where we said Dunk over Rudiger, he does have Sanchez in goal. So by playing Dunk, he would be going double Brighton defense. But I think from our fan team days, we've realized you want to go high risk, high reward. Like it's easier to predict 1 clean sheet than 2. And I'd rather kind of go the whole hog, have both the Brighton defenders. And, you had them both in your team for a reason game week 1 because you thought you could catch some clean sheets in these good fixtures. So I would just start.
That's it. I think if you're not going to play Dunk at home to Watford and double up on them, I would question why you would spend 5 million on them, if I'm being totally honest. Like I would be kind of thinking that you could say skimp a bit there at some point down the line if you don't really believe in him enough to play him.
Yeah, so we've got Akshay. He says Spurs look solid defensively. They've got good games coming up. I forgot how to pronounce this after Gabe told me last week. Wait. Regulion. I'll let you try.
Regulon, is it?
No, maybe. Regulon. Regulon also made a few forward runs. I'm sure Gabe will put us right at the end of the week. Thoughts?
He was very advanced on the heat map. Very advanced.
Yeah, no, I like Regulon. He's only 5 million. I'm not so hot on Spurs defense yet. Like, I wouldn't be kind of like, again, I don't do defensive transfers. So, like, if you own him, great. I wouldn't be selling a defender to jump on any other defender personally. That's me. I'd be looking for high upside transfers in other positions. Benny Blanco, he says, sorry if people thought I was serious. Of course, I'm not taking a -20. He's rolling. What do we think of Salah to Son in Game Week 3 for captaincy if you've got no other issues in your team? And this is a serious question.
Who's asking that?
Benny Blanco, and it is a serious question.
I wouldn't be taking Salah out of my team.
Yeah, he's not leaving my team. I tried to get to Son another way. So I was saying like maybe downgrading Ings and moving to a 3-5-2 and then upgrading Greenwood or something. That would be my way. So we have a few things. We have my pronunciation of Regulion. We have I'd go Ailing if Diego Llorente is back for Leeds from Gavinho.
Well, I think they're going to have Calvin. There's a chance that they could have Calvin Phillips back as well, isn't there? So
yeah, he was big time missing, right? So I think I like him, and I think he's pretty pivotal to what they do. Brighton conceding a lot from set pieces. Any concerns?
There are concerns, like, you know what?
Yeah, there's definitely concerns. Yeah.
Burnley were happy enough just to drop the ball on top of Sanchez, and we spoke about that earlier on. And they have big defenders. They've got Duffy, they had Dunk, and they had Webster, and they still couldn't defend the dead ball, like, you know. So it would be a bit of a concern, like, but I would maybe still double against Watford.
I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Sadly, our friend Dan has just arrived and said evening, but for his sake, I'll play the tumbleweed clip before we say bye to everyone. But we're at 1 hour 46. We said we'd try to stick the Compass show to 1 hour 30 going forwards, but we're half an hour shorter than the previous Compass episode. So we've got to start somewhere. Next week, we'll cut it down to 1 hour 30. But there was some good questions in advance, some good debate. Great Game Week 1 scores. Lots of Centurions from the Net That Haul community. So again, if you've not joined the mini league, like check out the pinned tweet on our @Net That Haul Twitter account. Been a pleasure having you all here. Thank you, Norman. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here with us live. We can watch the matchup show. I think it's going to be 11 p.m. this Thursday UK time. So we've got Gabe, FPL Lens, and FPL Mariner running that. The captaincy metric will be unveiled as usual. Obviously, I had an 80% hit rate last year. So, you know, I'm looking at that metric to pick my captains because I had terrible captaincy last year. I know you've obviously signed up to the Mikel Tokram FPL review algorithm as well. So I feel like it's the year of the algorithms, baby.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy when we sign up the FPL review. It's a nice site now. Shout out to him.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. I guess on that note then, so I'm going to just play this little silence clip very quickly for anyone who wasn't here earlier. I'll embarrass myself one last time, but soon we're going to have some more TikTok clips from FPL Baker. So there will be some more kind of comedy moments to be put into our shows. But enjoy this. Have a great night. And see you guys on Thursday. Definitely our most popular member of the Net That Haul crew, and you can definitely be our 5th crewmate now going forward. Definitely be our 5th crewmate now going forward. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So, just while we're here as well, guys, so please do continue.